Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Interviewing Wednesdays, our special guest speaker series. The last speaker we're going to have is December 15th, 2021. We're very glad you're with us today. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just open up the Zoom chat window, put it in the chat window. For those watching on Facebook, you're welcome just to enter your questions into the comment field. And if you'd like to network with each other, with other people who are on the call, you're welcome to put your contact information in there, and we encourage you to connect and link in with other people who are on the call today. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give your consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org. In 2012, I started a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. And I'll tell you about our upcoming program that we have, an interesting program that we have coming up this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, for the months of November and December, we gave Mark and Walt, after their 13-part workshop, we gave them the 2 months off. And so we've had 6 special guest speakers who've been talking all about different topics and different points of view about interviewing. Our speaker today is Jack Bick. You'll hear from him shortly. First, Mark and Walt are going to talk about the Interview Success Workshop and the Practice Interview Team. So this is a recorded session from Jack Bick. So if you have any questions, put them in the Zoom chat window, and at the end of the session, we will get those questions answered for you.
Pit Crew still going strong. We have 2 interviews today. I'll be doing those this afternoon, and that's how we do it these days. We do them virtually, so we can do them any day of the week. But other than that, they're the same as they were when we were meeting face to face. There's you, and there's 3 volunteers who provide the interview. It's a panel interview, and they have all been hiring managers as part of their professional responsibility. Most of them are also in transition, so they're in job search mode, just like you, and they're volunteering their time to help you out. And so our tagline, the Pit Crew's kind of slogan, is practice early and practice often, because every time you practice, you're going to gain confidence and get better at handling whatever may happen in the interview. A grumpy interviewer or an oddball question, you'll be prepared to answer it. And so practice early, practice often, and you do that by providing me, just emailing me at dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, a resume and a job description. And this job description does not have to be something that you are already engaged in. Most people who contact the Pit Crew do so because they have an interview coming up in a few days. And really that's a good idea, but you'll get more benefit out of it if you don't have that time pressure. And just pick out a job description that looks good to you. It may be one that you've already applied for but you haven't heard from. It may be your dream job description, but pick out a job description, send it in, and come practice against it. And the interviews take about 45 minutes, and there's feedback afterwards. It's recorded, so you can review your video after the meeting is over, and all the feedback is also recorded, so you don't have to take notes. I encourage you to link in with me, and that's information is also in the chat window. You can go to LinkedIn and search for Pit Crew, and I'll pop up, or you can search for my name. There's a lot of Mark McDonald's out there, so include the middle initial, and I'll be on the first page, Mark A. McDonald. And just send me a note that say we met on Interview Wednesday, and I'll add you to my network, which is going to help you in your job search.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Walt Glass, and I charge half as much as Mark does for the Pit Crew. So I do an interview success workshop. It's free. All you have to do is register to sign up. Now, what is the workshop about? Well, let me ask you a few questions because we're going to answer these in the workshop. Are you really prepared for a job interview? How much time have you spent on your resume versus practicing the interview? Do you know what you need to do to get prepared? What does selling ourselves really mean? Have you considered how you could differentiate yourself with your greeting, your opening, and your closing? What type of questions do you have, and what options, strategies, structures might we use in responding to those questions? Are you aware how you can build rapport and establish a connection with your interviewer? How do you demonstrate your expertise and value to the company? So all of this and more in the free interview success workshop. It's on Tuesday mornings, 10 to 12. Send me an email to my waldorflineglass@yahoo.com, and I will send you back availability dates so that you can be registered. I also need a job description and a resume. Similar to Mark, I don't need a real one. I just need one that's the kind of job you're looking for. So pick one out that you say, this is what I do, because I like to look at your responses in relationship to what they're looking for with a job description. So I'll be glad to have you come down and join the group. We don't have to sweat. We don't have to be nervous or have fear or be distressed. We can learn without squirming.
This week, our speaker is Jack Bick. Jack has, over the last 10 years, Jack has become a subject matter expert in the field of career coaching and employment strategy. He's written 2 books on the subject, Beat Mission Critical and The Champion Way. Both books outline how to circumvent the confused and competitive system to network into target companies and reach the hiring manager through the use of champions. Jack comes to this as a second career from a successful career in local journalism, primarily startups and turnarounds of local business journals. He's been successful in magazine publishing, internet publishing, and event promotion. Jack's success was also based on effective hiring methods, thus the logical pivot from journalism to career coaching. So Jack, thank you very much for being with us today. And his talk will be on clarity when you need it most.
Well, Jeff, thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to working with everybody today and learning a little bit more about how you can successfully circumvent the confused and competitive situation that we have today. Most of what I'm going to talk about today comes from my book, The Champion Way, that's available either through me or through Amazon. If you come through me, I can personalize it and autograph it for you. But what can you get out of what we're going to talk about today? The takeaways from today are very simple. To have the right attitude as you go into a job search so that it can be a positive experience all the way from start to finish. Building confidence, developing tactics that you can use to save time and save money. It costs a lot of money not to have a job. If you make $50,000 a year, that's $1,000 a week that you're not putting in your pocket every week that you don't have a job. So even if you don't do anything, it's costing you money. And we don't want that. The average job search is 22 weeks. And for somebody making $50,000 a year, that is $22,000. That's a lot of money. So everything that I'm doing is to make sure that we cut that time down to 4 to 8 weeks is what you should be able to do to get a job. So the reason that we have to have the right attitude, it really comes from having clarity as to what the situation is. And that's what I want to talk about today, is the clarity that's necessary for you to start a comprehensive career search. Now, we start with, the first one is outward outlook. The first thing you have to realize is this is not about you. If you center everything on yourself, you're not as attractive to employers. If you show an employer through the methods that you use to network to get there, to get to that person, and in the interview, if you show that you are oriented toward their problem and you are the solution, but you have to show that you are oriented toward helping them to either make money or save money or solve a problem. This is not as easy as it sounds, but it's very important to do. The typical situation is that employers are going to interview about 10 people. And you can figure that one of those people is going to have an outward outlook. So if you want to compete with that person, you better have an outward outlook also. And you develop that by every situation. You work to think of it in terms of what does the other person need in order to hire you. When you get that outward outlook, you'll see that people are responding to you, and that will improve and give you a positive attitude. Our second guide to a positive attitude and to clarity is to recognize the changing marketplace. Change is just as a constant in the world ever since the beginning of the world. There's climate change, there's chemical change, and those things have been going on since the beginning of time. But we also see that there are trend lines and changes even in the job market. It used to be that what you knew would get you a job. Then it changed to who you know will get you a job. And now it is who knows you well enough to recommend you. People are reluctant to recommend you unless they know something about you. They have to know you well enough before they'll be willing to put their reputation on the line to reference you and to pass your name along. So it's very important, if you want someone to champion you, you have to develop and cultivate them as your champion. So the second thing is to recognize that it is people who know you well enough will help you in your job search. But you have to approach them from a standpoint of who they are, not your need, but their need to help you. A lot of people will want to help you if you approach them the right way. The third aspect of clarity is to realize how much confusion there is in the marketplace. Much of that confusion is actually coming from the employers themselves, because they are depending more and more on impersonal non-contact ways of evaluating who you are. Now, I'll tell you, I don't like the idea that a software is going to evaluate me, that a computer is going to evaluate me and decide whether I can have an opportunity to sell myself to a company. So to me, the next thing, what you want to do when faced with confusion is go around it. You can't beat it, because that type of interviewing is ingrained now, but you can avoid it. There's no need to go through an ATS. You can go around it and find a way to get to the hiring manager and avoid all the confusion that's part of the impersonal electronic ways that companies are trying to save money in the pursuit of finding people. I don't think you really find the right people. In fact, Fast Company reported that between 30 and 50% of all new hires are failures. Now, I don't think that that's a failure on the part of the candidate. I think it's a failure on their process. And the process is putting the wrong people in the wrong spots. So you can improve your attitude and have a positive attitude when you realize that there are methods to get around the ATS. The fourth guide is the fact that competition is higher than ever. Now, when I wrote the book, we didn't have COVID. I wrote it before COVID happened. Well, COVID has just magnified the number of people who are looking for a job. And what happens when jobs are posted, everybody runs to them. And I had one of my clients who applied for a job, and she was the 18th person to, excuse me, to apply for that job. At the end of the day, she checked back to see how many people had applied. 1,800 people applied for that job. And it's very, very difficult for you to differentiate yourself when there's 1,800 people trying to get a job. And you think about the number of people who are going to be eliminated because they're only going to interview probably 10, maybe 20 at the very most. So in order to develop a positive attitude, you must realize that by going after posted jobs and posting your resume on job boards is only going to get you in the middle of all that competition. And just like with the confusion, you can get around it. You can decide what companies you want to work for and network your way in. You've got a much better chance to get the job that you want when you choose the company and network your way in and research the company so that you have valuable information that can differentiate you from other candidates. The fifth way to improve your attitude and make it a positive attitude is to realize that there's a reason for the timeout. Now, I believe that God plays a very important part in our job search. In fact, God plays an important part in every part of our lives. But God invented jobs, and he knows where your next job is. And sometimes he sends you an opportunity to reevaluate where your life is going, not only with with your job, but also with your family and your relationship to God. So once you realize that you have God on your side, that can improve your attitude and make it a positive attitude. Number 6 is that your career is in your control. Now, if many people come to me for coaching and they feel that it's out of their control, they don't have control of their career search. The reason for that is that once they send their resume into a job posting, that's all you can do. You're stuck. You're waiting to see if there's life on the other side of that ATS. And many times there isn't. You don't even hear anything. You think you're being ghosted, but really a machine has decided that they don't want to talk to you. You actually have control, because if you personalize your approach to your job search, then you have the opportunity to control the message. You can control when they're going to get it, how they're going to get it, and you can control who's going to get your message about how good you are at what you do. And another thing to think about here is that you're not looking for a job. You are actually looking to invest your skills and experience with a new company. That puts value on you. That puts positive nature on you. And like I explained in my first book, Be Mission Critical, you show that you are critical to their mission. Every one of us has value. Every one of us has God-given talents. And those talents are enough for us to be able to take care of ourselves and our families. If we realize them and we cultivate those talents and experiences and know how to present those in the marketplace, and we can do that because we control the message. So you can control your job search in a very positive way. Once you realize that, you have a positive attitude. Number 7, all jobs are temporary. Once I had a lady in the audience when I was doing some group coaching, and she said, well, I didn't have a temporary job. I was 30 years in the military. And I said, well, that's interesting. You spent 30 years and came out as a buck private? And she said, no, I'm a command sergeant major. That's a pretty powerful position. And so I said, well, obviously your job changed on a regular basis as you moved up the ladder. And we all have to realize that we have to accept the responsibility for our career. Nobody else is in charge of our career. Our career is not decided by external forces. Our career should be decided by internal forces within ourselves. The locus of control is within ourselves. We are in charge. Your boss isn't in charge. His boss isn't in charge. The economy is not in charge. The government is not in charge. You are. We've come through a very difficult year, yet we can see that people have been succeeding during this particularly difficult time. And a lot of people have found new jobs. but companies have adjusted, and many had to change what they were doing. And so they reacted. Remember, number 2 was accept change. If you accept change, then you can understand things that are needed when things are changing rapidly. Change just means that opportunity is shifting. You just have to realize where it's going and get there and show how your talents, your gifts, and your experiences are relevant to the new change. So all jobs are temporary, and truthfully, when if you realize that you are in control of your destiny, that should be a powerful thing. If you think that something else is in control of your destiny, it's very hard to have a positive attitude. But you are in charge of it, and you can control it. The 9th guide is avoid postings, which we already have talked about, and embrace the hidden job market. The job, I really dislike that phrase, hidden job market, because if I have a company and I'm looking for an accountant, I'm certainly not hiding it. And so my new way of expressing it is the discovery job market. You have to discover it. You have to be active in the marketplace to find the companies that don't post their jobs. They do post them, but not in the way that is going to attract hundreds of resumes, because there is a significant cost connected to going through 100 resumes. Certainly a much higher cost if you have 1,000 resumes. I remember when I first came to Dallas, I was publisher of the Dallas Business Journal, and I had to hire a new business manager. And I naturally put an ad in my own newspaper. Well, I got 311 resumes, and I was putting off going through all those resumes because it's not fun on the hiring side to go through those. And actually, somebody was suggested to me through networking, and I ended up hiring that person and never really going through the 311 resumes. And you might think that I took the easy way out because that person was presented to me, but that was in 1990, and that person just retired from the Dallas Business Journal a couple of months ago. So she was pretty good. In fact, she was fabulous. And she made it through 5 different publisher changes. So embrace the discovery job market. And what it requires is for you to really network out there and find the companies that you want to work for. When you do that, you can network your way in and find a way to present your mission critical skills and experiences to fit their job descriptions. And finally, number 10 is, excuse me, human nature is a constant. We react to various stimuli the same as our grandparents and their grandparents and every human being ever since time began. We respond to personal contact. So if that's true, why would we want to go and submit ourselves to an impersonal way of being selected? Go around those things and allow your personality to be seen and to have your skills and experience judged on a personal basis rather than an impersonal basis. Have it be where you are there to move your candidacy forward on a daily basis and develop champions who can do some of the heavy lifting for you. And you're much better off being a selected candidate because somebody in the company suggested you than you are if you come through an ATS. Now, obviously there are jobs out there that are posted that you may want. My suggestion to you, rather than sending in your resume, when you see a posted job you like, find champions. Go to LinkedIn, find who works there. Network your way to those people, get those people to really know you, and then they will take your resume in. And the other advantage of having a champion on the inside of a company where you want to work is that they can feed you information about how the process goes. You can have the inside information as to how they like your resume to be written, what kinds of traits they're really looking for, and also, and even most importantly, who the hiring manager is and what he is as an individual hiring manager is looking for. That's invaluable information. There's also a new wrinkle out there where the hiring manager writes a 25 to 50 word expression of exactly what he's looking for, the preferred person that he's looking for. Not all hiring managers want the same thing. And they're all individuals and they all have their likes and dislikes. And if you have a chance to really know who the hiring manager is and have some feedback as to what that person is all about, you're way ahead of everybody else. So I hope I've given you some information here that you can use to have a positive attitude as you enter into the job search process. Remember, that process should not take more than 4 to 8 weeks. 4 to 8 weeks. Now, what I'm gonna, I've hinted at what I think the process should be. But let me give you some ideas and give you some clarity as to what this is all about. To me, a job search is a marketing problem. You have to market yourself. One time I had an engineer come to me and he said that he lost out on a plum job that he really wanted because and he knows the guy who got the job, and he knows that he's a better engineer than the guy who got the job. I said, you may be the better engineer, but he's the better marketer. He marketed himself much better than you did. So it's a marketing process. First, you have to start with knowing the product. You are the product. You are what is being sold. So you need to get a real grasp of who you are. What makes you tick? What are the things that you've gone through? Why did you pick certain jobs? And in my new book, I've got almost 100 questions that you can ask yourself to really find out who you are and what it's all about. Now, why would you want to know that? We live with ourselves all the time. So don't we know each other? Don't we know ourselves already? Yes and no. We forget things. We forget things that have happened to us, especially things that aren't so good. We push those to the back of our mind. We really need to have those at the front of our minds when we're going into a job search. We also underestimate ourselves. We fail to connect the dots, and we rationalize. So we are actually, let's admit it, lying to ourselves. And that's not a healthy situation. We really need to know ourselves deeply. And once we really know ourselves deeply, we can write star stories that have impact, that are viable and brief. So doing a deep dive into who we are is very, very important for us to be able to write the star stories. And we all know, no matter what process you're going through, star stories are the foundation of any job search. Those success stories tell our story very, very well. The second thing you have to do, once you know the product, you have to know the audience. This is a basic in terms of marketing. Any marketing company has to know the product, and they have to know the audience in order to do an effective marketing job. So the second thing is choose your companies and market your way in. I suggest having 5 companies that you want to target. Now, the advantage to that is that you can differentiate yourself because you do some deep investigation and research into these 5 companies. You're at a great advantage over anybody who only knows these companies on a surface level. By you choosing and defining the 5 that you want to work for, you have an advantage, because when you walk in there, you say, I want to work for you. Not because there's a job available, because your company is where I can best invest my skills and experience. And when you have deep research into who you are and who the companies are, you can write better resumes because you know what the target is and you know what information you want to put in there. It's very important to have a resume, what I call a selling resume, that covers the highlights of your career. You don't need everything in order to get an interview. You may need to tell them everything about you in order to get the job, but you don't need everything. It's the highlights that they're going to get interested in and want to know more. Telling them everything can actually be a disadvantage. So the way that you put together your resume so that it will be a point of differentiation. So that once you know the product, once you know the audience, and once you have started into your marketing materials, starting with your resume, you can go in and really do a good job of networking your way into those companies. If you're trying to network your way into 20 or 25 companies, you're not going to do a very deep job of it because there just isn't time. But if you're concentrating on 5 companies where you want to work, then you have it's a great opportunity for you to make a deep impression and get that job. The last thing, after you enter into the marketplace, after doing all that research, is selling, and really selling your way into a company during the interview. I call it the conversation. And what's important in the conversation is for you to ask questions. You should ask a question to get the conversation started. You should be asking questions throughout the interview. And at the end, you should be asking questions so that you know exactly where you stand. If you walk away from an interview and you don't know exactly where you stand, you probably didn't make a deep enough impression. You have to know for sure. So you want to ask them. My favorite question is to say, do you see me in this role? And the guide that I give to all of my clients in coaching, the underlying idea is that if you're not in the top 3 before you go into the interview, you're not going to get that job. Because you not only have to do a good job in the interview, but the top 3 have to fail. And that's not likely to happen. 1 maybe might fail, but having 3 of them fail in order to boost you up to number 1 probably isn't going to happen. So you have to differentiate yourself through marketing, through research, through networking, through doing hundreds of little tactics that are all explained in my book, that in order to be in the top 3 before you ever go into that interview.
Jack, if you don't mind, Bill asked, how do you know if you're in the top 3?
Well, you know because you are doing the things to differentiate yourself. You're not doing things exactly the same way everybody else does. But ultimately, you ask. And if you have champions inside that company, they can ask for you.
John asked, how do you convert a LinkedIn stranger into a champion?
Well, you start at the beginning. The first thing I said was outward outlook. So you look and decipher things about that person that you can use to make a connection. I have a thing called the communication formula, and it's very simple. It's you connect to the other person before you want them to connect to you. In other words, you show concern about, or an interest in their job, how they're doing it, their activities, their hobbies, their pursuits, before you ever expect them to be interested in what you're interested in.
Just a few words. What do you think the most important thing is in interviewing?
The most important thing in interviewing is ask questions. And when you go in and make your opening statement, you end the statement, that statement with a question that will get the conversation going. During the conversation, the middle part of the interview, you want to be asking questions to clarify and to show your interest in doing a good job. And then at the end, you want to make sure that you ask questions so that you know exactly where you stand, and end with that very important question: do you see me in this role?
Could you go over your 10 points real quick and just,
Okay, very quickly here, develop an outward outlook is number one. Number two is recognize the changing marketplace. Number three is confusion, which is a disconnect from reality. Number four is competition is higher than ever. Number five is there is a reason for a timeout in your life. Number six, your career is in your control. Number seven, all jobs are temporary. Number eight, a very important one, all companies are hiring. And number nine is embrace the discovery job market. And number 10, human nature is a constant.
great. Well, thank you very much. Michael asked, what's the difference between the new book and the old book?
The first one is basically what to do and how to do it. The second book is what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and why to do it. And there's probably 20% more checklists and ideas in the second book than the first book.
Well, that is Jack's presentation. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions you'd like to ask? You'd like to talk about things you liked, didn't like, you agree with, disagree with?
No, it was practical. Really good. It was right on.
Good.
Not easy, but right on.
Yeah, I mean, it's he looks at it from a very different standpoint because his is a marketing background. I mean, since he has started several of the business journals around the United States, Kansas City, here in Dallas. And so he's all about marketing, and that's what you're doing. You're marketing yourself to an employer and letting them know how you can help them. I mean, you just have to remind yourself of that mindset that, you know, it's not about you. It's not how much they're going to pay you and what your benefits are going to be. Is what can I do to solve the problems that you have going on at your company? So, you know, I really appreciate, you know, Jack's presentation. I think it's really good here. Any other comments?
Jeff, I have a question, and it's Geneva.
Yeah.
So once you have your target company and you find your champion in that target company, what is the recommended approach to that person to get them to be your champion, to start that process?
Well, I think that's where you have to sort of build a rapport with them. And to do that, you probably need to do like an informational interview. You need to find out from them, you know, what do they like about the company, and what is their role? And if you can build a relationship with the other person, they will help you. If you just go in asking, oh, you're an alumni of the same, we went to the same school together. Hey, can you help me get in? That may or may not happen. I also will say this: if a person's been unemployed and has been at one of these sessions, or has, if they've had to go through looking for a job, they will be more helpful because they get what's going on. If they've never been unemployed, they will not get the fact of, I need, to give you a half hour, give you 15 minutes, and how can I help champion yourself in? So everybody you find on LinkedIn isn't necessarily, a quarter of the people on LinkedIn you find are probably not going to be very helpful. They're on there because they're promoting themselves. But that's the whole key. It's building that relationship and them going, I really do like you. Let me see how I can help you. And if you get that personal connection, either from an alumni from a school or the same neighborhood or the same PTA, your kids are doing the same thing, or however you can build that commonality, that'll be a help.
Great, thank you.
Jeff, can I add to that real quick?
Yes, please.
Hi, guys. If y'all don't know who I am, my name is Jason Hopper, and I'm a career coach at Jewish Family Service here in Greater Dallas. One way that you could establish rapport really quickly is to like and comment and tag them, of course, on their LinkedIn content, right? If they don't have any LinkedIn content, they're not really an active member on LinkedIn, so move on to somebody else. But and I tell clients this all the time, look for the people that are in the departments that you're trying to break into, right? If you're an accountant, go connect to the accountants in that department, right? And then go and make those comments on the content that they are putting out on LinkedIn. The other thing too, and Jeff just hit the nail on the head with those informational type of interviews. Guys, right now it's the holidays, right? And it is a great time to look for a job. And the reason is because, and everybody things are just so slow. Yes, they are. And use it to your advantage because things are slow. People have a lot more time to do the informational interviews, or I like to say that the virtual coffees, right? Ask, be specific in your ask, right? And what I mean by that is, hey, Geneva, do you have 20 minutes to do virtual coffee with me so we can get to know each other and how we can help each other better? Everybody's got 20 minutes they can pull out of a day, right? That gives you 10 minutes to tell your story. They've got 10 minutes to tell their story. If it goes past the 20 minutes, cool, that's fine. But essentially what will happen is they will get to kind of know you. And so then when a position is open in that particular department that you're already trying to break into, they will be more than likely to recommend you.
Great.
And take it one step further. Even if you know there's an opening in their department, don't tell them that. Let them go, I think there's an opening in this department. Oh, really? Who would be the hiring manager? Let them sort of help you and just play, never tell them that the only reason you're connecting because there's an opening in their department.
Can I make that face you just made, Jeff? Oh, really?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
I think that makes all the difference. Anything else we can answer for anybody before we move on? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody being with us today. Let me hear a couple of slides. If you, these are the two books that Jack wrote. The newest one is the one on the left, The Champion Way, How to Land in 4 Weeks. You can find both those books on Amazon. The best, easiest way to look for them is just, if you're interested, when you go to Amazon, type in Jack Bick, and then his books should pop up and you'll be able to find those two books. All right, let's see here. If you'd like to connect with Jack on LinkedIn, you're welcome to do so. Here's what his profile looks like. But if you do connect with him, be sure to send him a note. Let him know that you saw him here today at on the special guest speaker series, and you want to connect. If when you're on LinkedIn, you always want to look for that blue connect button. If you don't see a blue connect button, go look at the person's profile, and then you should be able to find a blue connect button. Sometimes you have to go to more, and you'll be able to find the connect feature there. But always send that personal note, because that's why people will connect with you. I won't connect with anybody if I get that generic invitation. I got 2 of them this morning. I don't know why we want to connect. You got to tell me. All right, Career DFW and Career USA, we've been putting training on 4 days a week. This year, we will be putting on 240 workshops over the course of 2021. And we'll start back up here next year again. Tomorrow is the third Thursday of the month, so we'll be talking about resumes. Tony Bashira from Babbage & Associates will be talking about the top 10 big mistakes of resume writing. Tony's been doing this for 47 years. He's the owner of Babbage & Associates, one of the oldest recruiting firms in Texas and the Southwest. So he has seen hundreds of thousands of resumes. He knows what he likes and he knows what he doesn't like. So it'll be a really good presentation. Join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, as we have for the last 11 years, this will be we started the first time we did this was in 2010. We have Susan Holly, who's a senior tax advisor with H&R Block. She's going to be talking about things you need to consider about your taxes, things you need to wrap up, questions you got. If you have questions, you're welcome to submit those, and we'll try to get those answered. You will only be able to watch this live. You will not be able to record this. She doesn't allow it to be recorded. H&R Block doesn't allow it to be recorded. So, but she can do the live presentation. It will be deleted off of Facebook right after the presentation's over. So if you do your own taxes, you may want to jump in and join us this Friday morning. We will have no sessions for the week of Christmas and New Year's. So we'll be back the first week of January. If you're on one of our mailing lists, you'll get an email with the schedule coming up right after New Year's. We'll get that out and let people know what's happening that first week of January. So this session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. You're welcome to go back if you'd like to, rewatch any of these presentations. You can. The 13-part workshop that we did for interviewing with Mark and Walt, they're all those episodes, and here they are listed. They're all on the Career USA YouTube channel, which I'll show you in just a second. Those first 5 that are lessons 1 through 5, those are what you do before the interview, how to prepare for the interview. The second 5, lessons 6 through 10, are what you do during the interview. And then the last 3 are just some advanced topics. So on the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist, select interviewing, and then at the very bottom, select view full playlist. And then this is what it looks like. You'll be able to go and you'll select whichever lesson you'd like to go back and watch, or any of our special speakers we've had over the last 8 weeks. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. Send an email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You will never be spam, but what you will get is you will get the title of the day, the topic of the day, and most importantly, the Zoom link of the day, so you can join us on Zoom and just be able to open the email and click right on there and join us. Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Everything I've done over the last 13.5 years has strictly been as a volunteer. We're just here to help you land your next great opportunity. Career DFW provides on donations. Please consider making one when you get your next job. So thank you very much for joining us today. Let's see here. Matthew says, by the way, how often to update the LinkedIn profile is what I'm assuming. It's not as important to update your LinkedIn profile as it is to post, like, and share stuff on LinkedIn to show that you're an active user. If you get a message from somebody, respond to them. Even if you're not interested in whatever they're trying to sell you or whatever, LinkedIn, what they want to see is they want to see you being involved with the platform. So by posting your information, by liking, sharing, making a comment once a week, posting an article once a week. You see an article someplace else, take it, go post it on LinkedIn and tell people why here's why I thought it was an interesting share. So that's what I would recommend.